All right, thank you. All right, well, I am excited to be in Boerne for LinkedIn. So we got a couple of questions to kind of kick off, and everybody is ready to be honest, right? This a safety zone? We feel comfortable being safe with each other, right? All right, so this is a circle of safety. We're no judgment here. It's a no judgment zone. Raise your hand if you're on LinkedIn right now. You're on, wow, look around. That's awesome. Okay, hands down, circle of safety, everybody feel comfortable, right? Raise your hand if you're not on LinkedIn right now. Okay, good, thank you. Because this will help. The great thing about this class is whether you don't have a LinkedIn or whether you already have a LinkedIn, this is gonna help, okay? It's just starting off. Now, last question, this is for those of you who have LinkedIn. If you've forgotten your password, and you can't log into LinkedIn, raise your hand. Anybody forgot their password? Haven't been in a while? All right, good. I appreciate that honesty as well.
My personal one, but my nonprofit.
Right.
Needs some help with that.
All right, we got you. We can definitely help with that. So I'm excited to be in Boerne. I have to tell you, if you know the history of the Boerne Chamber, they used to have another building. Does anybody remember the old Boerne Chamber office? So great story. I was literally had just started my publication, Luxury Home Magazine. And I didn't know a ton of people, but I knew that chambers were really important. And so I walk into the old office and they were packing it up to move it. And they said, oh, no, you got to go meet Jesse. Everybody remember Jesse? Yeah. They're like, Jesse for the longest time claimed me as his son, Jesse Martinez. That was my dad for a long time in the Boerne Chamber. So Jesse, I come over here, I walk in, I meet Jesse, and I say, Jesse, I need to meet a lot of people. And he said, well, you need to join the chamber. And I've been a member since that day. And this was 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And I love the Boerne Chamber. It's an amazing chamber. And so I'm honored to be able to be here to speak, to kind of share my story and the power of LinkedIn. Because I really feel like LinkedIn is one of the most important social media tools. It's very, very, very important. Not just for business owners and employees. It's important for everybody who wants to have their resume for the world. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. So here's the thing. Raise your hand if you are a business owner. You run a business. Okay, good. So hi, so I need to be able to know who the business owners are. Okay, great, hands down. Raise your hand if you work for someone. You work at a company, you work for someone. Okay, great, awesome. So now that's really interesting to know the dynamics of the room so that I know that there are people that they're working at a company and some people that are working for themselves. And it's really interesting to know because both are still important on LinkedIn. So who am I? My wife and I have the pleasure of starting Luxury Home Magazine 7 years ago. It's a real estate publication that we started. That has led to me becoming a John Maxwell speaker and coach. Any John Maxwell fans? I love it. Yay. Put this date on your calendar. I will have a live simulcast with John Maxwell. It's called Live to Lead, and it'll be October 12th. So just put that on your calendar. Trust me, if you've never heard John Maxwell speak, it's unbelievable. I mean, he's one of the best in the world. And so we'll have a live simulcast of his speech. That also led to us purchasing another business, school. And everybody always asks, how do you buy a school? We bought a pre-K, my wife and I, Spanish Grove Academy in Stone Oak. It's a Spanish immersion pre-K. And my son went there for like 4 years. And it was something that I remember when I found out they were selling it, I told my wife, we have to purchase this school. It had that much of an impact on our lives. My son is now bilingual. He's going into the 3rd grade. He's in the dual language program at Stone Oak in the Stone Oak area. And so I'm here with you to talk about the power of LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn has opened some amazing doors for me. Some really, really amazing doors. And I'll kind of share that throughout. But first and foremost, let's talk about what we're going to cover today. So what we're going to be covering today is going to be really simple. We're going to be covering the idea that you need to complete your profile. These are some of the mistakes that I'm going to get to in just a second. But when you look at LinkedIn, you're going to find that people make a ton of mistakes. We'll cover that in just a second. But the idea today is to talk about some of the big pieces to LinkedIn. Number one is completing your profile. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what to post on LinkedIn. Like, what do I need to be posting on LinkedIn? We'll be talking about that. We're also going to talk about your endorsements and recommendations. What's the difference? If you notice, for a long time, you would get this screen where it was like this screen where it said, endorse these friends for the following. And you could just sit there and endorse them. What was endorsing? Well, endorsing, I'll get to that later. It's simply a way to increase engagement on LinkedIn. We're going to talk about connecting your accounts, how to connect Twitter and LinkedIn. Because one of the things I believe about social media is making sure that you have the ability to create quick and easy effectiveness of your time. So if I have to go into Twitter and make a post, and I got to go into LinkedIn and make a post, and I got to go into Facebook and make a post, most of us don't have that time, nor do we have the resources. Well, I'll show you how you can connect LinkedIn to Twitter so you can make one post on LinkedIn and it will actually go all the way from LinkedIn to Twitter to Facebook. And it's really easy to do. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about probably the most important feature of LinkedIn, and that is the blog feature. And the blog feature is a way where you can actually write articles about what your expertise, what you do. And I just recently wrote an article we were sharing earlier. Tell me your name again. I'm sorry. Scarlett and I were talking because she's a big fan of Gary Vee. As you can see, I'm wearing the Gary Vee shoes. I'm a big fan as well. And I wrote an article about being able to meet Gary Vee. And I got a chance to go out to LA. And so that article is now out for any one of the 5,000, 6,000 people that I'm connected with. And they can see that article that I wrote. It's powerful. Trust me, you definitely want to make sure you're taking advantage of that feature. And we'll talk about it later. So here are the 5 mistakes that I see all the time. Number 1 is a bad photo. I know you're not going to believe this, but I've actually seen a keg stand LinkedIn photo. I know you're shocked. A keg stand LinkedIn photo. Now, no judgment. Do you think it was a guy or a girl? It was a girl. Okay, no judgment here. Remember, this is a safe area. A safe area, right? The thing is that on LinkedIn, you have to understand the power of LinkedIn. This is a professional network. Your picture needs to be really, really good. So make sure you have a good picture. Number 2 mistake is not having a summary. So if you notice when you go to a profile, there's like that little bitty bio space. Most people forget to fill that out. And that bio space is critical because it's like a cover letter of your resume, right? That's where you really get an opportunity to kind of showcase who you are and what you've done. Now, this is a big one. Most people don't complete their profile, okay? Now, here's your promise. Everybody raise your right hand. Right hand's up. Here we go. You ready? Say, I promise. I promise to fill out my profile and become an all-star. Even though I don't know what an all-star is, I'm going to become an all-star. All right, Ed, you promised. Yeah, okay, yes. And you know what an all-star is. I love it. I love it. So if you don't know what an all-star is, it's probably because you haven't filled out your profile. All right, and we'll talk about that and why that's so important. Now, the next thing is personalizing invites. One of the worst things that happened to LinkedIn was the app. Because what happens on the app is everybody just goes down and just starts clicking blue buttons. Click, 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 click. And they just start inviting everybody. Here's the thing about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is about quality, not quantity. I do have a lot of followers. Yes, it's true. But don't think of it as trying to get a lot of followers. It's not about followers. It's about quality of the followers that you have. and being able to know that you can connect with them because you know that you're already connected to that person. Some people just sit and just boop, 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 boop. They're just connecting. I want to talk about how you can personalize that. And then the big thing about LinkedIn is be sure, don't invite people you don't know. Now, here, we're all family here, right? So what I want to say to everybody here is please connect with me on LinkedIn. I put out a lot of great stuff on LinkedIn, a lot of videos, a lot of stuff that can help either your business or your company, a lot, kind of short what I call micro content. So please feel free to link in with me after this presentation. So what does our profile look like? If you click on the profile, this is where your really nice picture is going to be. This is at an event that we did for Ray Feo with Luxury Home Magazine. And then this is where you get to put your title of what you do. Now, if you work for a company, put your position for that company, what you do for that company, okay? And then this is where your summary goes, okay? Very easy, very simple. This is not really hard. What I always tell people is that LinkedIn is one of those apps that will literally walk you through step by step what to do next. Now, how many of you had a little too much fun in college? Anybody here have too much fun in college? Right? I had a lot of fun in college. They always ask me for some weird reason my grades in college. Please don't put your grades in. You don't have to put your grades in there. All right. Now, if you're summa cum laude, right? That's great. I was summa cum sucky. All right. I wasn't any of those. But if you did really well, awesome. Promote that. Talk about it. But if they ask you grades, you don't have to put all your grades that you had. You know, they're going to get really detailed. You don't have to go that detailed. All right, so first up, maximizing your profile. Number one, here's the deal. If you're not going to truly maximize your profile, it would be better for you to turn this LinkedIn off and not for this to be pulling up on Google. Okay? If you're not going to fill it all the way out, take it down. And you can actually, there's a way where you can actually go in and turn it off to where nobody sees it. Okay? I highly recommend that if you're not going to really go all the way with it, just turn it off. And here's why. Because if I told everybody in this room to go on Google and type Tomas, T-O-M-A-S, Martinez III, this is going to show up within the first 4 or 5 links on Google, my LinkedIn. Now, is that important? You think that's a good thing for me? Who wrote it? Me, right? I wrote everything that's on there. Right? So you want people to find you via LinkedIn. You want people to search you and be able to find you. But if you don't complete your profile, guess what? The chances of you popping up on Google go what? They go down. And if you're not an all-star, they really go down. So you want to have all of this filled out. And the goal is that when anybody types in Google and they type in your name, that your name pops up, okay? But you've got to complete the profile. Think of it like this. If let's say a Fortune 500 company was going to move to Boerne, they were going to start out, let's say Dell decided, you know what, we're going to move out of Austin. Austin's too weird. We're going to come down here and we're going to be in Boerne because Boerne's cool. And they opened up in Boerne and they started asking for resumes. Would any of us that wanted a job at Dell, would any of us walk in there with an incomplete resume? No. Would you have that thing buttoned up really well, right? But yet on LinkedIn, for the entire world to see, we have this incomplete. And we don't have this fully filled out when people can search us. Now, if you run a business, do you think your clients have searched and looked at you on LinkedIn? They have, trust me. Right? If you run a business and you work for a company and you're a VP or you're an executive for a company, do you think people have looked you up? They have, guaranteed. This is not just a recruiting tool. This is what I call third-party validation. You understand that concept, right? Because when people read LinkedIn or the web or Facebook, it's like, it's got to be real. Unfortunately, right? So third-party validation, they go to this and they look at your resume for the whole world and they're going, wow, look at all this person has done. But here's the beauty. Who wrote it? You did. So you get to use this platform to showcase to the world who you are. So make sure that you go through the whole process. This is what I tell everybody to do. Everybody get your favorite adult beverage or non-adult beverage. Turn on Lifetime or SportsCenter. It'll take you about an hour to really go through and fill it out. Now, do you have to go all the way back to your bagger at HEB like I used to be, your jobs? You know, bagger at HEB when I was 16. No. You could just go back through your career and hit the highlights in areas that you want to showcase. Okay? And the goal is, here's the goal, be aware of gaps. How many of you are hiring and you've gotten a resume that has like a 5 or 7 year gap? Right? And you kind of go, I need to ask about that. So the goal is, whatever you do, you want to make sure that you cover those gaps, that you don't have the massive gaps in there. All right. So next up, privacy settings. There's a lot of different privacy settings. I really want to touch on this. If you click the little icon up at the top, all of your different privacy settings pop up here. And in here, you get the opportunity, all right, to worry about, okay, profile viewing options. Okay, and here, your profile viewing options, this is where you get to determine who gets to see you and how they see you if you look at their posts, right? Or not their posts, but if you look at their profile, okay? The one thing about LinkedIn is if you're looking around on LinkedIn, if you don't have this setting turned off to where you're like anonymous, right? They can see that you're looking at their profile. Now, if they're not a gold, you know, where you upgrade, if you upgrade, you get a little bit more options. You can see this in a longer period of time. If they're not paying for that, after a few days, it goes away. They're not going to see that. But what I tell everybody, here's the deal. If you turn this setting off so that people can't see that you're looking, guess what? You won't be able to see who's looking at you. So keep that in mind. I feel like if somebody is looking at a job and they're looking to get hired and they've given you a resume, my thing is does it really matter if you're looking at their profile at the end of the day? It's not really that big a deal. But if you want to be anonymous, you can make it anonymous for a period of time and then you can go back to public. Okay? So this is if you're looking at other people's profiles, you can turn this feature off. I want to make sure that I didn't. So now your connections. Now, some people are really, really like, I don't want, certain people to see who I'm connected to, right? And so they turn that feature off. What I recommend for myself is that I like to have my connections only me, but that is completely up to you. Now, what if you both are connected to the same person? Will they see that? Yes, they'll know that you're both connected to the same people. But you can actually have it set up to where only you see your connections if you're not already connected. Or you can have it open to where they can see, oh, you're connected to so-and-so, you're connected to so-and-so. That's completely up to you. But if you're in a very competitive business and you are connected to, somebody at Frost, it's a VP, but you may not want to know other people know that, this is where you can turn that off to where people don't see that. Okay? Now, this is the viewing options. We just talked about that. Now, who can send you invitations? Does everybody remember when LinkedIn started? Your email box was flooded with invitations. And there's a reason for that. It's because people started uploading their entire contacts from their phone straight into LinkedIn. And you know what LinkedIn did? They said, thank you very much. Grabbed every single email and they emailed every single person in your database and said, guess who's on LinkedIn? You need to come join them. And they were just sending it out massively. And so I always tell everybody, when LinkedIn asks you to update your contacts, what are you going to say? No, don't do it. Do not do it, okay? Do not put your contacts. Now, there are some security measures that make it really nice. And that is if you're like this major CEO and you only want to be connected to the people that are on your phone, that may be the only reason maybe why you'd want to do something like that. But then again, does LeBron James need to be on LinkedIn? I don't think so. You know, does any of the Butt family, you know, the HEB family, do they need to be on LinkedIn? I don't think so, right? I think they're doing okay. So in terms of who can send you invitations, you can lock this down to where you can say they have to have my email in order to send me an invitation. Which is nice, but let's be honest, can we find everybody's email like that? Yeah, you can pretty much find anybody's email. So if you want it to be really, really tight, you could also do this. You could import your contacts, but what do we know about that? Is that a good idea to import all your contacts? I would say don't do that. Definitely don't do that, okay? So invitations, who can send them to you? I would say everyone, and then you just kind of look through and see who you want to connect to. My rule of thumb is I get a lot of connection requests because I'm very active on LinkedIn. So I get a lot of connection requests. If they don't have a picture, I usually don't connect. That's kind of like one of my ways to weed out. Okay? They don't have a picture. If they're not going to put the time to put their picture in, I probably don't need to connect to them. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Are the features you've told us about so far all under the free version?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. Tell me your name. This is really important. Tell me your name. Jane. So everybody, almost every time I've done this presentation, they always ask me, are you a LinkedIn premium or a member? And the answer is no. I do not do that. I feel like that level, the $20 a month or whatever it is now, it's higher now. So whatever it is, that's only if you're a recruiter. If you're trying to recruit people and you're trying to get into their mailbox and you're trying to do more, what they call that in-mail that they do, then it's effective. For me and what I do, I don't need to see the last 600 people that looked at my profile or the last 400 people. It doesn't really benefit me. So I don't do it. Now, I love LinkedIn, and I'm a big believer in LinkedIn, and I tell everybody they need to be on LinkedIn, but I don't think you need that. So next up. So this is my public profile right here. Understand that, again, remember we talked about the picture, right? Over here, you actually have the ability to edit your public profile. So you can customize it. Instead of it being whatever they have, I actually have mine customized where it's linkedin.com/in/ and then I put my name. And you have the ability to go in there and edit it and customize it to your name, which is really, really, really cool. And it's a great option for, if you want to make this. I actually have my LinkedIn on my email. Anybody know why I do that? Why do you think I do that? I want people to connect with me, right? But I want people to be able to see my resume, right? How often do we get to show off or show off our resume? Unless you are looking for a job, you really don't get a chance to do it. But with LinkedIn, you get that opportunity to do that. Now, how do we use the being able to post your status? Now, does anybody follow me on LinkedIn right now? You follow me? Okay, great. So, what have you seen recently, Brian, that I'm doing a lot of? The Mindset Mondays. Yep, I do a release every Monday. I release a video. The latest one was we were at the ESPYs. Gabe and I got to go to the ESPYs in LA, and I actually stood in the corner and was filming it at the ESPYs. It was really, really cool. So check that out. That one's on there. But I love video on LinkedIn, and that's something new that you're able to do. So you could literally put your phone up, record on your phone, make sure the audio's good, that you're not in a loud place, right? And then you can upload that into LinkedIn now. It's really, really cool. So you can do video. You could also do quotes. You could also share achievements. Is it okay to brag a little bit about something that's happened in your life? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. So LinkedIn is a place where you want to share what I call rainbows and unicorns. Right? Because what do we find on Facebook? I'm getting a divorce. My dog just died. You know, this guy sucks. I hate him, right? Facebook can be very, very, it's just like this very emotional place. LinkedIn is about a bunch of professionals that want to get better at whatever they're doing. And it's a place where you can get positive stuff, articles. I mean, the stuff that's coming out about San Antonio right now, our city, San Antonio, and Bernie's a part of all of this. It's growing. Look at Bernie. I mean, can you imagine Bernie 5 years from now? With all the, Bernie is going to explode. It already has. And it's only going to continue. So we want to share good news. So I said, if you're going to share an article on LinkedIn, share the good stuff. Because what I feel like with LinkedIn is LinkedIn gives you the ability to be the local expert. LinkedIn gives you the ability to be the local expert. On what? What do you do? Talk about it. Write an article, right? And so everybody here, if I said, could you write me 3 paragraphs about, for instance, tell me what you do. You're at Wells Fargo, right?
Yeah, financial advisor.
So financial advisor. If I said, listen, what is it, like on the news, what do I keep? The word I keep hearing, if you listen to Fox or CNN or any of them, it's tariffs. I literally heard that word in the last 3 days, right? I don't know, a bunch, right? We're hearing that nonstop, tariffs. My thought is as a financial advisor, what if you wrote an article just about that idea to help people? Because again, I didn't do really well in school. I don't remember all the stuff talk about tariffs. But if you wrote a short 3-minute article about tariffs and people in Bernie were like, man, that's really cool. I didn't know about that, right? So it's connecting with where everybody's at, right? And then bringing your expertise to it. You follow me? Awesome. So that's what you can share on here. And I'll show you later how to do that. Now, if you want to connect your Twitter to LinkedIn. Now, full disclosure, I'm learning to embrace Twitter. Okay? I'm learning. It's hard. I'm not a Twitter person because to me, Twitter is literally like, it's fast paced, it's nonstop, and it's just people just putting little bits of information, and it drives me nuts going through the feed. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Twitter, but here's what I learned. I'm at this party in LA and I'm standing with Gary Vee's personal assistant. And this guy, Tyler, is literally the guy who plans this guy's every minute of his life. And I'm looking at the guy and I said, Tyler, I know you're big on Twitter. I'm like, were you always big on Twitter? He says, yes. I said, even before Gary Vee, don't lie to me. He says, he goes, I'm the one that pushed Gary Vee to really start pushing, like, hey, we got to even go more overboard on Twitter. And as we were talking, and I sat there and I said, you have to help me. He said, listen. He said, the thing about Twitter is that all of these hashtags get connected. And so your stream of consciousness, whatever you're talking about, is going to get connected with all the other hashtags talking about, whether it be tariffs or whether it be clouds and dirt. Whatever it's going to be connected. And then when all that gets connected, new people see what you're saying. So imagine, if you will, if you put an article on LinkedIn and you have a couple of hashtags and you send it out and it's automatically connected to Twitter, you don't have to even go to Twitter. It's just connected. And your post goes automatically to Twitter. And it looks okay. It doesn't look as good as if you actually went to Twitter. Bear in mind. But it goes to Twitter and you don't have to go there, and it's already got your little hashtags. I mean, that's the efficiency that you can do with LinkedIn and Twitter.
When you're writing a post on LinkedIn, you've got that little box too that allows you to connect to Twitter or not.
Yes. And then sometimes, so you can turn it on and off.
Right.
Yep. So in your settings, you go in here to third-party partners, and you have the ability to come in here and connect your Twitter. It'll come down here, you enter in your account. Once that's entered, you never have to touch it again. And you'll always be able to post. It's awesome. Okay?
Can you do that on the app, or you have
I think you have to be on the desktop. Yeah, I think you have to be on the desktop in order to connect it. You probably won't be able to do it from your app. But again, this alleviates you having to go to Twitter. You can just post from here. Now, I went one step further, and now that I'm starting to post more on Twitter, I have to slow down, and I'm probably going to have to disconnect Facebook. Because here's my next step I did. I connected my Twitter to Facebook. So now imagine this in one post. Watch this. From LinkedIn, it automatically goes to Twitter. And then from Twitter, it automatically goes to Facebook in one post. Isn't that beautiful? That's efficient. There's only one problem with that, is that sometimes your Twitter post may not be exactly what you want to talk about with everybody on Facebook. Because it's more like quick streams of consciousness. It could be an opinion that maybe you necessarily don't want to share with everybody on Facebook of something that's going on. Like for me, I had a travesty happen in LA. I mean, it was terrible. I went to Wolfgang Puck. Anybody, you been in one of his restaurants, Wolfgang Puck? Okay, listen, I'm going to tell you, I was so upset. So upset. And Gabe was there with me. And I tweeted about it because I was so upset. Do you know what happened at Wolfgang Puck? I ordered a bourbon, and they don't have whiskey rocks. How do you not have whiskey rocks at Wolfgang Puck? So they literally brought me a big just jar of ice, and I knew what was going to happen, and I told Gabe, I said, they're literally going to bring it. It's just going to be full of ice with the bourbon that I got. But here's the thing. What happens is I literally tweeted at that moment and tweeted it directly to who? Wolfgang Puck. So anytime anybody sees, if they go over there and they do any kind of search, they're going to end up, someone eventually is going to respond to my tweet. And I'm telling you, we're going to have some serious issues. But here's the deal. The reverse of that happened. My wife has a great story with Twitter. She did an event with Neiman Marcus and with Target. Remember, they had this big collaboration with Neiman Marcus and Target. This was the big red day where there were items at Target that were Neiman Marcus, and then it was vice versa. Anyways, they rented this RV. They had this whole night where they stayed up all night eating amazing food. Then they woke up and went inside Neiman Marcus. It was really, really cool. But at one point at 12 o'clock at night, her phone rings. Now, she's tweeting literally from like 7 o'clock at night all the way, and they're just tweeting all their pictures, taking pictures. And what are they hashtagging? Neiman Marcus, Neiman Marcus, Neiman Marcus, Neiman Marcus, Target, Neiman Marcus. Guess who called her at 12:30 at night? The president of Neiman Marcus. Hey, Christina, what are y'all doing in San Antonio? Now, how did that happen? Would she have ever been able to email the president at Neiman Marcus? No, it wouldn't have happened. But it was because of all of the tweets, they're looking at this stuff. They look and they want to respond. Now, Wolfgang Puck, I don't know what happened. We got to figure out Wolfgang Puck and his whiskey rocks. He never responded. They don't believe in the whiskey rocks. All right, so connecting to Twitter. Twitter is important. Full disclosure, I'm not huge on it, but it does work and it does have its effectiveness. And when you connect it to LinkedIn, it just does it for you. Okay? Next thing, adding new connections. Now, remember what I told you, I'm a big believer that just going down and just connecting with people to connect is not the right way. What I like to do is I like to connect with people that I meet, and then I personalize it. And so whenever I meet somebody and I want to find them on LinkedIn, I'll find them. And then you can use filters. Like you can literally search like a business and find everybody that works at that business. Let me tell you, if you ever need to find a job, not that anybody wants to find a job, but if you ever wanted to find a job, LinkedIn is going to be your first place. Because you could literally find every one of the key players in that business that you need to talk to or just randomly bump into somewhere. Right? You can find them all on LinkedIn. And just using the filters, you can find them. So let's say you find somebody, then you're going to customize your invitation. You add a little note. You say, hey, it was great to meet you. I really appreciate you taking a picture with me at the Gary Vee event, and you hit send. Okay? Customize. Personalize the message, telling them that you met, and then send it to them. Now, endorsements. I'm running out of time, so I want to get through this. Now, endorsements and recommendations. Here's the deal. An endorsement was literally created to increase engagement on LinkedIn, right? It doesn't really mean that much. It's like a like. Think of endorsement as like a like. So you know what endorsement is, right? You put a skill, you add a skill, and then someone says, yeah, Ed's good at that. Yeah, and they click it, even though they've never worked with you, right? Which is what I always love. So when endorsements came out, it didn't, I was just like, this is really silly. Now, the thing about it to me that I love are the recommendations. Here is where you can really separate yourself. Because if you go to my recommendations, you're going to see that I have been able to really focus in on this. So here are endorsements. And again, if I were to go to this list, I have 99 advertising, 99 marketing, real estate 99, and then you see all of these down here. Speaking 99. Again, some of these people have never heard me speak. So don't get caught up in endorsements, okay? Don't worry about that, all right? This, to me, is the big deal. This is the big deal, is recommendations. When you can get somebody to recommend you and write it out really nicely, this is where it definitely changes. And you want it to be personalized. So what I say here is, when you get to all-star level and you want your name searched in Google, the more recommendations you have, the higher you move up in search. Okay? So what you want to do is, when you ask for a recommendation, here's the one caveat to this. Does anybody know, how do you get a recommendation for somebody on LinkedIn? You have to ask, but guess what? What has to happen before you ask? You have to be connected, right? So some people will go on and they're like, I'm gonna get a recommendation from somebody, but they're not even connected on LinkedIn. You can't get it because you can't even type their name in. So you've got to first be connected and then ask. Now, here's what typically happens. People will leave my workshop, and I do this a lot for realtors and business owners, and they'll literally just start asking, hey, recommend me. Okay, for what? Right? Like, what do you want me to say? So here's what I'm going to challenge you. If you worked at a previous employer that you didn't burn down the bridge when you left, right? And I have to always say that. But if you want to get a recommendation for your job at that company, you need to specifically say, hey, Bill, listen, I worked with you last year and it was amazing and I learned so much. Would you talk about how I was able to coordinate events in my recommendation for LinkedIn? Be very specific. Case in point, I used to be a teacher. I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Can y'all see me teaching? Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. I loved it. I had one of my 3rd grade students reach out to me via Facebook, and she's like, Mr. Martinez, I really need a recommendation. On what? That was, I don't know, 8 years ago, standing in line, coloring. Like, you got to give me, what do you want me to give you a recommendation on? Like, I don't know what to say. You got to tell me, what do you want me to say? So be specific when you ask.
I take it one step further and write it, and then just say, if you agree with this, can you just sign this?
And that could work.
Because then you're not working.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
Make it easier. Yeah.
My employees had to write their own recommendations.
I love that.
All of them.
Yeah, I love that.
I'll sign it, but
Yeah, and you want to make sure that obviously they agree with what you wrote and you let them read it before you put it up. Now, here's the specific thing about LinkedIn is that when you get a recommendation for LinkedIn, you have to send them an email from within LinkedIn. You have to request it. So you got to go through this process where you type in their name, you customize it, and you select the relationship. So first you got to have their name, like Brad, and then you got to select, okay, what were they doing when y'all were for this recommendation? How are y'all connected, right? And then this is where you type it in. So this is where you type in what you're asking for. Now in this spot, this is where you could actually fill in, hey, here's what I'm thinking about you saying, right? Do you agree with this? If you do, I'd love for you to post this, right? That's one aspect. And then once they get it, then they have to post it. They have to actually post it on their side, and then you get an email back saying so-and-so has recommended you. And then you get to read it and decide whether you want to put it up on your recommendation, which is really nice. Because spelling, like for me, is a challenge. And sometimes I've given recommendations and they're like, Tomas, you're so cool. But you gotta work this again, please, because you've got a couple misspelled words in there, right? Make sure. I had a recommendation from a principal. This is when I was an educational consultant. And it was pretty much, it was unreadable. It was really, really bad. And I felt so bad asking for, I just literally never posted it. So you get the ability to choose whether you want to post that recommendation, which is nice. You cannot edit it. No. And think about it. That's what makes a LinkedIn recommendation so valuable. It's real. Like if whatever they're giving you, it's real deal. If people are reading it, that's the real deal. Yes.
They are dated as well. So
Yes.
if you send out 25 at a time, it looks kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Sporadically so that you're having them come in at different times.
That's a good point. Jane, right? That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. And what I typically like to do is I'll typically, I don't know how many, I think I have like 19 or 22, somewhere around there. What I typically say is get 3. Just get 3 and start out with 3. And then as you continue to work with people, add to it, get more. Because this is third-party validation. When someone says you're a rock star and someone brags about you on LinkedIn, guess what? It never goes away. It's always there. Facebook testimonies, they're gone. They're in the scroll of death. They're gone. No one's going to ever see them again. All right? But LinkedIn, when they go to your profile, guess what? They're going to see all of your recommendations right there. All right, articles. So tariff article. I need it. Educate me, please. All right? So the articles. This is what's so cool. I wrote this article. It's called Who Do You Think You Are? Very interesting article. I don't know exactly. Let me see. How many do I have? It doesn't say how many articles. I have several. But the cool thing about articles is this actually was not, you weren't able to do this. Only influencers could do this. If you remember, you had to have that little blue LinkedIn little sign, and they were the only ones that got to write articles. Now, everybody, you can write articles. Everybody in here can write an article. All right? Now, all successful people have. This was probably one of my most popular. This got 139 likes. It had 19 comments. This was an article that I wrote about desire. And really, really neat article. And you have the ability to pick your picture. You can put a picture up there. You can even do video within the article. So you can literally write a small little introduction and then record yourself in the article talking about whatever it is you want to talk about, which is awesome, okay? So lots of amazing features. It's very, very easy to do. This is literally what it looks like. It's simple. It's literally a little word. Has anybody written an article on here before? Okay, couple of you. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Say, right hand up. I promise. I promise to write at least one article in the next 2 years. Hey, I want to keep it simple. All right? You got 2 years to write your article. All right? And I will tell you, the articles, for me, what this has done for me is this has allowed me to get content. Content marketing. If you own a business, it's content. Content is king. You've got to get content out there that tells people what? What you do and why you do it. Right? So my last article that I just wrote was about my meeting with Gary Vee. I got to meet Gary Vee, and I wrote about that experience and the 3 things that I learned about meeting this guy. And just read the article. I'd love your opinion on it. But it was really interesting being able to put all that on paper and putting it out into the LinkedIn universe. Because here's the cool thing. Can you share that on Twitter? Yep. Oh yeah. Can you share it on Facebook? Yep. You can. So you can take that one piece of content and you can put it across different platforms. And then if you wanted to do, I have a podcast. If you like podcasts, it's called TM3 Impact. It's on iTunes if you're an Apple person, SoundCloud, all of that. But on our podcast, I will do what I call the audio experience, where I will literally read some of my articles just to make it Again, I'm taking one piece of content and I'm putting it in other places and in different ways. Can you do this if you're the employee of a company? Yes. Please. Do it. You know? Do it. Yes.
Now, would you say it would be an advantage to write the article on LinkedIn? Because what I've been doing is I write articles for our website, post it through WordPress, and then copy the link. Would you say it's better on LinkedIn or just about the
Both.
both?
Do it both. Take that exact same article, copy and paste it into LinkedIn.
It's gonna be higher ratings on LinkedIn if you put it in their,
Yep.
use
Their
their
ecosystem.
platform to
Yeah.
do it,
Yep.
they like that. Yeah.
I would put it in LinkedIn big time. Now, I think our time is up. So here's what I want to do. I know some of you have a hard stop and you got to get to work and you got to get back to what you're doing. I will stay and I love to do a little bit of Q&A because it's a lot of information. So those of you that need to go, listen, I just want to say thank you. You have homework though, because remember I was a teacher. All right? Former teacher. All right, it's very simple. You need to go like my Facebook page, Luxury Home Magazine. All right? I want you to be connected on all social medias. So make sure you like Luxury Home Magazine Austin, Luxury Home Magazine San Antonio. All right? And then also link in with me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on all of them. Link in with me. And then here's the other thing that I need you to do. I need everybody in this room, you need to get recommendations. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful. So all I'm asking is your homework, get one recommendation by the end of the month. That should be really, really easy. Find somebody, whether it's at your company or another company you work for, and get a recommendation. Just get one and then work on the next one. All right, fair enough? Okay, we're going to stay for a little bit of Q&A. Those of you who have to get back, I totally understand. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Glad to be here in Boerne. So, Q&A.
So, being a business owner, I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm not really trying to get a promotion
Yes.
or to move somewhere. Done that. I'm more thinking of how do we get our exposure as a company.
Ooh, tell me what you do, sir.
We pediatric home health.
Pediatric home health. Wow. I think there is a lot. Number one is, I could tell you right now about 4 different articles that I would write if I were you. Number one is, what is the advantage of home health for pediatrics? Versus going to that doctor's office that most people don't even want to leave their home. Or they feel like the child is too sick to leave the house, right? You could literally, and I think of articles in 1, 2, and 3. Here are the 3 reasons why you need to consider an at-home pediatrics. And you go 1, 2, 3, articles done. Right? So that's one thing. Number 2 is if you're a pediatric doctor, you've literally probably seen the spectrum. You've done this in a hospital. Not a hospital. Maybe you have, but you've done this when you probably had a private office with this at some point, or no? Oh, you're not a doctor. You do what? Are you on your end? You are.
We employ nurses to take care of children and therapists that treat the children.
So you have nurses that go out for you. Got it. Okay. So keeping them out of the hospital. I love it. So again, now, see, I just assumed something based on what you told me you did. So now you could just write an article just helping people understand that, what exactly it is you do. That's number 1. Number 2, the other thing that I would do is you need more nurses.
Correct. That's what. So you're like, don't connect to people you don't know. So that's what,
You need nurses.
exactly what we're.
You should be writing articles about how awesome Boerne is. Have you been to Boerne? You're in San Antonio as well? However, but you could write, I like to write articles. If you look at any of my articles, I never talk about Luxury Home Magazine. I don't. It's just because Luxury Home Magazine, that's the business that I own, but I don't talk about that a ton. I don't talk about the 5 ways to, to be in Luxury Home Magazines. Now, in your case, you're educating people on what it is that you do. That's different. That's different. You're not trying to sell, you're trying to educate. That's the power of the articles on LinkedIn. But to me, another aspect are videos. Videos. Can you imagine you did a 45-second commercial of a mom with this baby that's very, very sick, and they're calling on the phone, and all of a sudden a nurse walks in. She never had to leave the house. She's sitting there with her child in the room, and you have this one little bitty commercial talking about that, but it's not, again, it's not a huge sell. You're tapping into the emotion. Where would you put that video? Do you know how many views? I get more views on LinkedIn than Facebook on my videos. I get more views. Now, that also is determined by your followers. I do have a lot of followers, so that helps, right? But the idea is, if you're putting out good stuff, you could put that on LinkedIn, you could put that on your Facebook, you can put that on Instagram. I have a whole Instagram class that I think I should come back and talk about, because Instagram is like, there's so much you could do with Instagram. But LinkedIn, I think your play, tell me your first name, sir. Steven, I think your play with LinkedIn is really going to be looking for nurses, looking for people that want to go into this line of business. That is, LinkedIn, you should be like, LinkedIn is the greatest thing ever. Because you can find people that want to do that part-time that can fill in the holes where you need them the most. So, who else? That was a great question. Great question. Who else?
Okay, I'm Brady, I'm with 2D Pie here in Bernie.
Awesome.
So we have a company LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then as staff, we have ours, which are,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
So do we need to tie into our company profile as well as our profile?
I mean, it really, I mean, you could write, I don't know if you can write articles for companies, because companies, it's not an actual page. So I'm not sure if the companies.
Are we having that one?
Yeah, absolutely, because people can follow it, yes.
People post to your business page. So like, I'm the marketing director at the pharmacy, so I would write an article and it'd be posted by some admin on our business page.
So the business page does allow you to do articles.
It allows
Yeah.
you to share it to there.
Got it. There you go.
So that's how it links.
Yep.
So like,
Like
you would write,
Facebook.
yeah, you would write an
Yeah.
article and it'll link to
Yeah.
Do you have a profile just for the business on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
business page.
Okay, they don't have.
Yeah.
To get invited to manage it, to be an admin.
To be able to be on there. Yeah. So for you, it's like, how do you make that distinction, right? So I think, you know, if I'm an employer, right, and somebody in my company wants to write about the business, I mean, I'm going to be thrilled, number one. That's going to excite me, right? And so, or write about the idea of the business, and then like she said, you can share it over if it's something about the business, right? I'm not too familiar with that, so I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. But the articles themselves, they may not necessarily, you know, I just did a class, Gabe, we went to UIW on interviewing. It was called Real Interviewing. And it was a group of 43 seniors about to graduate from UIW. And here's this room of 43, and there was only one senior that had interviewed more than 5 times. Only one. Think about this. Only one. She'd been on 5 interviews. So in your world, like, you could literally just, maybe it's a culture article about the culture of 2D Pie and what it, or the story, the history, right? All of that stuff, people love knowing the stories. They love knowing the history. Yeah, so I would say figure out kind of the angles that what do you do for them specifically?
My job title is a pie specialist, so I handle corporate and online sales.
Okay, very cool. Selling, right? I mean, a cool article about selling. What you've learned working there about selling. The good, right? I mean, and there's bad, obviously, right? You've learned lessons, I bet. I mean, you've got a product that expires. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen with that.
You could write an article of the good, the bad, the ugly of corporate sales or whatever.
Yeah. And
I don't think they arrive magically. No.
and keep in mind, I mean, obviously you want to protect the brand, right? I mean, the idea is not to write a disparaging. I mean, I know that's not where you're trying to go,
No, I'm not
but
being pucky, okay?
yeah, yes. So, anybody else? Questions? Please.
Yes, we're new to Bernie.
Yay!
September this month. We're the first co-working office space in Bernie. It's called Office Block Bernie.
Ooh, nice.
We have also square feet.
Wow.
Restaurant, bistro, coffee and all that, open 24/7 with a VIP center. So recommendations,
Yeah.
can I incorporate those recommendations in with these to show them how well it's working? And
Do you talking about recommendations for
they
the
would have membership to both places when they join.
Oh, so you're talking about a recommendation in terms of like you're the business owner, right?
No, I'm one of our marketing people.
You're one of the marketing people, got it. And you're talking about getting your clients to recommend the business.
Yeah, say I have San Antonio people and they're doing business with people in Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to Denny's restaurant anymore or some coffee shop.
Yeah, you can go there.
Now you can go there.
Yeah.
We have huge conference rooms, so.
Here's the thing. Write an article.
Yeah,
Write an article about the idea of shared office space and why in this day and age,
Yes.
what are the advantages? The 3 advantages to having shared office space. You don't even have to mention your company.
no deposits, no contracts, no upfront costs, just pay your fee and move in.
That's it. And you get the ability of 2 locations
Yes.
when you're starting out. So I used a shared office space when I started. So I know that very, very well. We did our ribbon cutting there. We did it. So shared office space is phenomenal. Yes. So right, I would do an article and then share that out. And again, you don't have to say, well, I work for such and such. All you have to do is say, hey, here are the advantages of working in a shared office space.
Oh, yeah, I have testimonies of people that have grown their business in the one in San Antonio. And
Yeah.
now they're tapping into Bernie business.
And you could have them write those recommendations, talking about that as part of your profile. Hey, tell me your name.
Diane.
I work with Diane at blank, and she was amazing. She got us set up, and we now have the ability to be in San Antonio and Bernie. And I never had that before. You could have that written as a recommendation, you know?
And the videos work just as well. 'Cause
Absolutely.
We have videographers in our office spaces.
Yeah.
So we can get them to do that for us.
Yep. Video's awesome. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
Okay, for a nonprofit that I do marketing for.
Yeah.
Someone a long time ago had created a LinkedIn page,
Mhm.
and now they're gone, and we cannot locate anything. But, so when I contact LinkedIn, they want me to find somebody to find a password and.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I've tried to create a new page.
Yeah.
Under, an acronym or something, and
Yeah.
it's not letting me because
Yeah.
it says you already have.
You already have a page.
So what's
Yeah.
my-
Has anybody been through this before? No? Profile, yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. Do y'all know who owns LinkedIn now? Have y'all heard? Microsoft. Do you know how much they paid for it? $26 billion. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Here's the problem that you're going to face is that you're probably not going, it's going to be really difficult to get the help you need to get it because you're just going to keep, it's almost like that, you're going to keep kind of chasing your tail. I honestly don't know the best course of action for you in that regard, unless you could, if you could figure out the email, right? And do they know will LinkedIn even tell you the email? They won't? Really? Huh.
And we've corresponded via email.
Yeah.
Will not.
This is going to sound crazy because it's really hard to do. Get somebody on the phone. With a lot of these online, like getting someone on the phone is almost impossible. That's probably going to be your best course of action is to try to get, you need to really milk the word nonprofit. Come on, help me out. Get somebody on the phone. That would be my best course of action.
That didn't quite work the first time.
Yeah.
Ask for a supervisor.
Yeah.
Ask for a supervisor and then
They don't know. Yeah, somebody set it up a long time ago. Yeah, they're not sure. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Well, I had a profile that was set up for a previous employer that was suggested at that point in time as of early on.
Yeah.
Of course, never used it, you set up, did it, right? Well, people were getting directed to that for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but I only had a few people that I linked in
Yeah.
at that point. Whereas my new profile, I've got lots of folks.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get rid of that one.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a little button up there about contacting LinkedIn or
Yeah.
whatever it was. Every time I
Yeah.
I would send an email to that deal and say, hey, I really want to get rid of this. This is still me.
Yeah.
Profile. And
Yeah.
they finally decide, yeah, maybe the guy is just starting with a profile.
Yeah.
Right, it's much more successful. So
Yeah.
they finally shut it down.
Nice.
As far
Good.
as I can tell.
Good. Good, good, good. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate everybody being here. The goal, who would want an Instagram class? Everybody want an Instagram class? Okay. What's that?
There was one last month.
Oh, there was. Awesome. Okay.
But it's sold out.
We need a class so that Jock can bring his peach cobbler.
Oh, nice. Nice. I do have a class that I've done in the past. It's called Social Media Boot Camp. And it's really kind of like, it's a little longer. It's 3 hours, but it's a boot camp to really hit the top of the waves of how you need to be taking advantage of not just LinkedIn, but Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And so that's another opportunity that we can do. I'll talk with the Bernie Chamber about making that happen. For those of you who you want to learn, like if you're like me, you like to learn, I would highly recommend, we're going to be doing an event with Michael Maher. He is 7 Levels of Communication, wrote a book. He is all about referral-based marketing, word-of-mouth marketing. It's going to be in San Antonio, so it might be a little bit of a drive, but I'm going to tell you, he's going to teach for 3 hours on how to really take advantage of referral-based business, how to get more word-of-mouth referrals. Because I don't know about you, but in this day and age, when you get a word-of-mouth referral, what's your percentage of closing that? 100%, right? It's pretty much, the chance of getting that business are pretty much, right up there, unless you just are not on your game, you're going to get the business. This gentleman is known all over the world for referral-based businesses and getting your game to the next level. I will be speaking for about 45 minutes prior to him, and then he's going to come on stage. Trust me, you don't want to miss. It's in like 2 weeks. August 9th. Yeah. His name is Michael Maher. And if you go to any of my social media, Instagram is the Tomas Martinez. If you go to any of my Instagram, any of my Facebook, you'll see videos. I've been talking about this for a while. It will be an event that people will be talking about. Oh, you do? Yay! That's awesome. Please. Yeah. So I'll be here a little bit longer. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to coming back. Yes. Appreciate it.